Hi, this is AJ Singh, founder and CEO of Modularis. This is a quick walkthrough of our technology leadership scorecard. We developed this scorecard specifically to help software business executives or PE fund managers better understand, measure, and incentivize their software R&D technology leaders. Well, what we found is that CEOs have no problem developing scorecards and measuring and incentivizing the heads of other divisions, whether it be sales, marketing, operations, what have you. Those are much easier to measure. But measuring software R&D and specifically measuring and incentivizing software R&D leaders has proven elusive to them. This scorecard is designed to provide you a framework based on what we consider to be fundamental truths when it comes to software R&D. We've identified 15 core leadership attributes broken down into 3 categories: people and culture, process, and technology. We'll be walking you through all 15 of those key attributes. And we'll be ending with an action plan based on 5 touchstones, which we've identified that can really help you and your software R&D leader focus their efforts and ultimately help them deliver maximum value to your business. All right, let's walk through this now. So very simple. Enter your name here, your technical leader's name here, company name. What I will say is that this scorecard should be filled out in conjunction with your technical lead. This is not something which should be done over the wall. It should be done in an open and a transparent way. And this can certainly be made part of an incentive structure, a review or bonus structure, if that's what you'd like to do. Okay, so put in today's date, then pick a review period. This is a look back period. It could be the last quarter, it could be the last 2 quarters, last year, that you're going to review and evaluate for all 15 of these attributes. Next, pick the next scorecard review date. It could be a quarter from now, two quarters from now. It could be at the end of the year. But this is the next date where the 2 of you will sit down together and see how you did, see how they did. All right, let's walk through this. Let's start with people and culture. You've certainly heard that for software R&D, you need people, process, and technology. That's kind of an old trope, but it's certainly true. The one thing, though, that is perfectly clear is that in order to get your people, process, and technology aligned and be effectively utilized to move your business forward, you need effective technical leadership. And this scorecard should help you identify where you're at, where you and your technical leader are today, and provide direction and a measuring stick that you can both use to focus efforts and really improve communication and understanding. Because very often we found CEOs and CTOs might be very good, but they simply speak different languages. They seem to talk past one another, and it's a source of great frustration on both sides. This is something, again, based on universal truths that I think can help bridge the gap. So let's walk through each of these. First, how proactive are your R&D team's activities, and are your R&D leaders' activities? Is everything very well planned or not planned at all? Look at the fraction of the time that a leader and his team spend just putting out fires every week versus working on planned stuff. That'll give you a better idea of how proactive and reactive you are. Next, continuous improvement. Has this been baked into the culture? Question: when there's a fire, and there are always fires, there's always challenges that need to be addressed. But after your team puts out a fire, do they take the next step and make changes to either people, process, technology, training, whatever it might be, to help make sure that that specific fire and fires similar to it don't happen in the future? We all learn from our mistakes. We're all humans, but is there enough rigor and follow through in the firefighting to really make sure that their people and the organization continuously improves? Understanding how to measure your tech leader and their organization can also provide a framework for continuous improvement over time. Ownership and commitment. This is very close to my heart. When something goes wrong, do people step up and say, it was my mistake? Do people own their mistakes? Do they work together as a team? Do people go home at 5 o'clock, or do they do whatever's necessary within reason, right, in a sustainable way, to make sure that things are done well, to make sure that the business is up and running, to make sure that dates are actually hit? Without a culture of ownership and commitment, it's difficult to do anything. And your tech leader needs to build and drive and cultivate that with the team. Teamwork. Do you have a group of individuals, or do you have a real team? Do they help each other? Do they share knowledge, or do they hoard knowledge? Our policies: we will never hire anybody who will not share their knowledge. And I fired people for not asking for help. This is a culture which again needs to be built out. The more real, effective teamwork there is, the more of kind of a shared trust, shared respect there is, the more effective your technical leader and the more effective your R&D organization will be. As a leader yourself, you know that people follow the leader. And to have a highly effective culture within software R&D takes a highly effective leader. That leader's culture is that leader's principles will be imbued throughout the organization. It's important that you guide and understand that so that you can get the most out of your R&D team. Talent retention. Are your smart and dedicated guys walking out the door? I mean, oftentimes people jump to the conclusion that it's compensation only that is going to keep highly talented tech folks around. That's not at all true. Yes, compensation needs to be adequate. It needs to be good. It needs to be commensurate. But fundamentally, do your R&D team members feel valued? Do they feel heard? Is there a culture which is promoting mentorship and continuous learning? And do they feel they have opportunities to grow and be challenged with you over the next several years? Has effective career planning been done for each R&D team member? This is all the responsibility of your tech lead, right? So for each of these 15 items, you can start with this here. Enter a score. Use a range of 1 to 5. Fractions are perfectly fine, but enter a current score over the review period for this section and the others. Okay. Let's look at process-related attributes. How accurate are your team's estimates? Are you hitting dates? Are your deliverables on time, in scope, and on budget? Or are you always having to add a fudge factor to any estimates that your tech lead or your team gives you? Estimation accuracy is critical for managing risk within the organization, for calibrating the level of investment in particular R&D initiatives. And that's something which needs to be measured and improved on over time. So how good is your estimation accuracy today? Delivery cadence. Do you have the ability to actually deliver regular features, enhancements, bug fixes, or ultimately value to your customers? Do you have a prescribed delivery cadence? Are you delivering or creating builds weekly, monthly, quarterly? Or is it undefined? Is it only on demand? Is it are you simply responding to the squeaky wheel? The more you can drive a consistent and regular cadence of value delivery through the organization, the more effective things are going to be, and your tech lead needs to drive that. Let's look at visibility of any particular R&D project. At any moment, do you know where that project is? Not necessarily in terms of, just points or anything like that, but fundamentally, do you have clear visibility of the team's progress towards business milestones that you have defined? At any instant, do you know where things are at, or are you always hearing about things late? This is also linked into the proactive, reactive element of the culture. The idea here again is with transparency and visibility, you can more effectively manage risk and leverage limited resources in order to give the right thing the right amount of attention. Velocity. How productive is your team? And not just in terms of them being able to crank out a lot of tasks. That's not relevant, and we see this very often. I mean, any engineering team can seem extremely busy. They might not have time to answer any of your questions. They're might even be working very late, always constantly busy. But are they making progress towards the milestones that you have set out? That's how you need to measure velocity. And the velocity of an organization is key to your return on R&D investment. This also ties into continuous improvement. Is the team aware of what their velocity is? Are they taking steps to continuously improve that velocity? Next look at quality. How good is the output from your R&D team? When they turn something over to a QA team, whether it's customer service or a dedicated QA team, or you're relying on customers to QA your products, I've seen it done. What's the defect rate? How good is that deliverable? In well-run organizations, the defect rate should be less than 5%, meaning by the time that code leaves a development team, it should be 95% done, tested, solid. There are always things you are going to find, but you can't rely on a QA organization to deliver quality output. Just as if, remember, you can't test quality into your product. You have to design it in, you have to build it in. This is also linked to a culture of ownership and responsibility, pride in their work. All of these things tie together. A very good way of measuring the quality of a particular product is measure the amount of R&D time spent after the production release fixing things as compared to the overall R&D time spent building it in the first place. In highly efficient R&D organizations, that should be a fraction of 1%. Let's move on to technology. It's important to strike a balance between any number of things when it comes to choosing technologies, embracing technologies, architectures, looking at the overall portfolio of products, platforms, and technologies. And this should help you focus that. One, how stable are your products or services? Are they set it and forget it? So that, I mean, are you losing any sleep over it? Is it extremely solid? Can you service and support a large number of customers with a very small support staff? Then fantastic. But the one thing to watch for is you don't want to have a false sense of stability. So check to see if this low customer service volume, this low number of issues or tickets is really being driven by folks in the background constantly fiddling at all hours, restarting things because or otherwise having to touch things. That's the opposite of set it and get it. But we have run across cases where the overall perception from the customer is that a product is very stable, but to maintain that perception takes an extraordinary amount of work and effort just to keep things running. That is not a stable solution. So look at stability across your portfolio. Look at scalability. So stability is the most important element. If you don't have stability, you don't have the ability to even keep customers you already have. You certainly can't grow. Next is scalability. What does it take to onboard a new customer or handle increased demand for a existing service you might be offering? Is it quick and easy, or does it take a long time, cost a lot of money? How scalable are your solutions? And again, is that scalability even kind of a set it and forget it thing? Meaning that to onboard a new customer, does it take a reasonable amount of work one time, and after that you can set it and forget it, or not? Does it take continuous attention? That's something to take a hard look at. Next, innovation. Are you giving your customers a level of innovation that they expect and that they are demanding, or are you having to say no to them more often than you like? Are you innovating at a rate which is helping you at least keep up, if not stay ahead of the competition? Or is your competition innovating at a faster rate and leaving you behind? That's something to look at, and each of these things should be things that your technical leader should be focused on regularly. Maintainability. This is kind of the holy grail when it comes to software R&D. Very often very often we will find that in a software R&D organization, 80% of the time and budget is spent simply keeping the lights on. That leaves only 20% for innovation. So can you deliver maintainable solutions? Are you delivering maintainable solutions so that, say, if you have to make an enhancement, it is not it is not a big science project. There isn't a lot of risk when it comes to maintaining, enhancing, and supporting existing products in your portfolio. A very good way of measuring this is by looking at the percentage of R&D time and budget spent keeping the lights on versus everything else. And that everything else is creating value to your customers. So what fraction of the R&D time and budget is spent creating value versus just keeping the lights on? In the best run R&D organizations, maintenance should be no more than 10 to 20% of your R&D organization's time, and it's your tech leader's responsibility to drive that down. Next, look at automation. This is something which is often overlooked. Automation can be a force multiplier for your R&D organization. You have to be extremely careful with it. Applied wrongly, this can lead to horrible results. But applied well, this can be a game changer when it comes to reducing risk and increasing velocity, accelerating software development. Is your software leader focused on that? How effectively is he or she looking at leveraging automation to improve productivity and reduce risk within your R&D organization? So those are the 15 elements overall that you should be looking at. What I'd like you to do is to enter a score for in the current score column for all of these. The totals for each section will automatically add up. Next, go over each of these items with your tech lead and pick a target score. Where do you both feel you can be by the next review date? I recommend being conservative. You're not going to fix everything right away, and you have to set up your tech leader to be successful. So pick something you both feel will be achievable, and measure not the individual items, but measure progress towards the total in each section. So when you come to do the review at the next review date, you are going to come up with a new current score, and you're going to compare it to what your target score was. The individual scores might vary, but really you want to move the needle in terms of people and culture, process, and technology. As long as you move the needle on those totals, you will move the ball forward for your organization, and your tech leader will be more effective and can deliver more value to you and drive your business forward faster. Next is the action plan. We've identified 5 touchstones that should be front of mind for your tech leader every day. Every day, every waking minute, when they're in the shower, these are the things that they should be thinking about. They should always be thinking about how they can reduce risk, how they can accelerate development and innovation, how they can reduce friction, whether it's friction internal to software R&D, friction between software R&D and the business, or friction between the business and your customers and your partners. They should always be thinking about how they can help you deploy capital more efficiently, not just in terms of productivity, but even R&D operations. Measuring a return on investment in R&D can be challenging, but this capital deployment efficiency is something which should be front of mind. The last thing you want is having your tech leader say something to the effect of, "It's not my money." Next, we talked about this a bit before. Every software R&D leader should be always thinking about how they can be creating more value and reducing maintenance effort on everything that they do. It is possible to completely swing a curve around. Meaning, we've worked with organizations where at the start of an engagement, they were spending more than 85% of all of their R&D budget, time, effort, energy on maintenance. After a year, just a little over 10%. This is without a fundamental rewrite of core technology, anything like that. You can turn this around. And what I'd like you to do with your tech leader, pick 1 to 3 items in each of these 5 categories, these 5 touchstones, that they feel should be done in order to help you hit your target scores at the next review period. One to 3 items in each of these 5 categories. Right? We hope you find this this tool to be helpful. Thank you very much.